Good morning. Good morning.
Hi.
Oh,
We'd like to welcome you to the BmoreNews Morning Show. Today is Tuesday, December 22nd, 2020, and we have with us the very lovely Marcia Juice and China Boat Terrell. Good morning, ladies. How are you?
good
Good morning.
morning,
You're
handsome
great.
man. You looking awful dapper.
Praise the Lord. Do you have your coffee, Marcia? Very good. Are you a coffee person, China?
I'm not a coffee person, but I
Can
drink a lovely, healthy smoothie.
Okay. Looks like our morning guest. Alexis, how are you?
I'm doing great, Donnie. How are you?
Good. We'd like a visual, please. We're not.
Let me see if I can switch that on for you. There you go.
We had to get
Good
rid of.
morning.
Good morning, Marcia. How are you?
I'm great, and you?
I'm doing well. China, how are you? I haven't met you. How are you?
I'm wonderful, and it is great to meet you. Cannot wait to chat with you this morning.
I'm sorry, Alex, where are you? Are you on a rope bridge? Is that a hemp bridge? Where the hell are you?
Oh, that's the back.
Take you for a walk across that bridge. That's what I'm gonna do.
I love it.
But
What's
you're
on the other side?
scenery.
I don't think you want to go to the other side.
He done
Oh,
took the
okay.
green screen to a whole other level.
I don't think you want to go to the other side. Let's just say that.
Hilarious. You are hilarious. I know there's a full story on that one.
Yes, it is. Yes,
Mhm.
yes, it is.
So, what's been up with you?
I've been pretty good. I can't complain. Staying busy. Staying very busy. I just launched a business consulting business online probably about 3 weeks ago. So I'm
Wonderful.
doing some consulting and trying to share some of my 20 plus years of business experience with people. And I've launched it where I'm going to be doing some master classes and some different things and bringing in some different friends of mine, professional people, and I'll be sharing business advice with different people. So I'm pretty excited about that. It's under my name, alexiscoates.com. So, and then I
Hey,
have,
Lex, how you like that? How you like that hanky?
yeah, that's pretty fly. That's well put together, Donnie.
I'm pretty sure I clipped it from you one day.
Yeah, it's pretty well put together, Donnie.
You know, and I'm open to any ties that you want to dedicate to the Be More News Morning Show.
I got tons of them you can have. I haven't even worn the tie in a while.
That's hilarious.
Only tie I wear is a blue tie. That's the only tie I wear.
So, China Boat Terrell, let me bring you up to speed on just who Alexis Coates is. Do you want me to read the official version, Alexis?
No. You can let's give the real true friendship version, which I'm a little worried about that, but
Right. You better be.
go ahead. I can only imagine how that's gonna come out.
Well, I can tell you, China Boat Terrell, that Alexis Coates, he and I met down at Dan Brothers. Now, Dan Brothers is a famous shoe store here in Baltimore. And they're known for alligators and ostriches.
But is it still open?
No. Oh, yeah.
Yes, it's still, yeah. I think it's owned by a different person now, though.
So I don't know if you've gathered this, but well, we've met in person. Alexis is more your height, China. What are you, about 6'3", 6'2"?
Me, I'm 6'4".
6'4". Okay, well, she's not.
And I'm 6'1".
6'1". Okay. Well, anyway, China, I see him standing outside of Dan Brothers with the let your pictures gone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I see him standing outside of Dan Brothers, and he's got these alligator boots on. Now, you may not know this about me, but I have a serious shoe fetish.
I know. I can tell.
And so when I walk up on him, I was like, what size are they, big fella? You get it?
I get it.
Yeah, what size you wearing, big fella? And so he's looking at me like, come on, shawty, I know you ain't trying to take my alligator boots. Well, anyway, he ended up being my IT guy. And this is what I'll never, ever forget, Marcia.
What's that?
So I had gotten hacked. It was around election time. Be More News, we've been getting hacked since hacking was created because everybody wants some of Be More News. Okay. But I tell him that I'm getting hacked. And he then educated me after I paid him, of course. Oh. And he said, I can help you, but I'm very expensive. Now,
Yeah, that sounds like him.
At this point, I'm handcuffed. I need his services. He introduced me to a Linux-based server, and I never got hacked again. And he gave me my change. His IT guy said it didn't cost that much, it cost this much, and they gave me my change. I'll never forget that. I'm a customer for life.
That's wonderful.
I'll never forget it.
Well, integrity is everything, right?
Yep.
Now, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. When it comes to making a sale, he's like a sniper. Ain't that right, Lex?
Laser focused.
Yeah. But if you'd rather have him on your team. That's all I'm saying. You'd rather have him on your team.
Yep.
So for your new business, who should be going online and like looking at your services? Like at what level? Is it like a startup or someone that's already kind of got it going and then they're trying to get to mid-level? Like who's the client? Who should?
So early stage companies for right now, starting out. Early stage if you're considering starting a business, or if you have started a business and let's say you're 1 to 3 years in. Mm-hmm. Or you could be a little deeper, but early stage, very, very early stage. Now, on the other side of the equation, I have been given a lot of high-level advice to attorneys, business people, politicians, and other people. But I think I can be most valuable with people who want to come into this whole new space in lieu of this whole pandemic. I want to provide this space that I can maybe navigate some things for you that you can avoid that end up costing you a lot of money, and you may be able to kind of skip over some of these headaches that I've already been through, and there are a number of different businesses. So I think there's a client base out there, and I think that with my experience and with my network, I can provide some real insight on helping people grow their business.
So are you talking about then from an accounting to legal to marketing? Is it the whole business model, or is it just the infrastructure for startups to take them to the next level, to mid-level?
Yep. So it's full 360 across the board. And as I said earlier, that I may bring in some additional professionals. If I had a person that wanted to go into media, I would maybe reach out to Donnie, and I would reach out to you or someone. If I needed someone with some deep legal advice, I got friends in Baltimore, like Granville, Templeton. I'd reach out to friends in Chicago, friends in DC.
Right.
If I knew you wanted to raise money, let's say you're looking to raise $5 million for a new startup. There's another group of people I would then go with. And I would help you with all the experience I've had from nuts to bolts, everything from setting up the business, growing the business, building a strong team, avoiding some pitfalls, setting up the correct financial structures. These things are across the board. And I think I have some level of experience with it, with some companies I'm owning, with some companies I'm owning right now.
That's great.
Yep.
And so it's Alexis Coates, and you're launching it now and starting the whole marketing strategy and all of that.
Yep. And through some Donnie inspiration, I published a book about 2 years ago. So I'm a first-time author. So thanks to Donnie. I published a book, 51 Business Essentials. So I'm kind of building. I'm kind of building on all of the things that I've been putting together over the years, and now it's starting to culminate as I build out some of these ventures for the coaching. And also, I just started to develop and launch the YouTube site. If you go to YouTube and you go to Alexis Coates Coaching on YouTube, you can start to see some video tips. You can see some introductory. You'll see some different free downloads. You can get some exciting things you can get to help you with your business going forward.
Lex, what is the most challenging situation you've had to deal with in business thus far, Alexis?
So from a financial perspective, for one company I owned years ago called Devinix, a lot of minorities are having issues even today. They have issues, like say for instance, meeting payroll.
Yeah.
And if you have a payroll, let's say you have a payroll of 80,000 a month, and you literally only have 60,000 in the bank, and you have payroll coming up on Wednesday for direct deposit. It's important that you have some sort of network to go to, and I think I've been blessed to have a network of people, a brotherhood that I could go to, that I could tap for short-term financing. Right? It might have been expensive financing, but it was short-term financing that I could get funded within 2 hours. Right? Now there is that conventional. There's that conventional money where you go to the bank and think. I'm talking your
Right.
network of people that could help cover a spread, and they have to recoup their money within 30 to 60 days.
So are those personal friends, or those small, or those are institutions that you've developed a relationship with?
Or
So,
are these non-traditional financiers that you might catch on maybe up at the 5 Mile House on a Friday evening about 6 o'clock, traveling with a guy named Guido?
No. That's a very good question. So a couple of things. So I'm Masonic, but I'm also in another brotherhood out in North Carolina. And for instance, a friend of mine, Bob DeShields, and he was on your show. And I've traveled with Bob DeShields, and that's a different network of a brotherhood. And that would be a close network of close mentors and older friends for me, right? At that point, right? And I could go to this network, and they would bridge me to the next stage. But I didn't, unbeknownst to me, they've been doing this for years.
Right.
They run a deep underground network that they don't talk about. And I'm sure he didn't talk about it on your show. But Bob DeShields, they're part of a deeper network of people across the U.S. And I've met with some on this island in North Carolina, and I'm telling you, these guys, there's a deep network of guys, just mentor friends, that they really help small businesses in a pinch, in a short notice. When I say short notice, I mean literally today it's 10, 12, and you need to be funded by 3 o'clock.
Right.
They can be funded by 3 o'clock today.
Who is Bob DeShields to you, Alexis? Tell us about Bob DeShields. And let me just tell you, China, I met Mr. DeShields through Alexis. Oh my God.
Alexis, is that how you all met?
Alexis is a one-man PR team when it comes to Bob DeShields. Mr. DeShields, I was like, I can't wait to meet this man just to say I met him.
Well, I saw your book on Amazon. It looks like it's available for anyone who's looking for a last-minute Christmas gift for someone.
Yep. That is very true. Yep.
So here's something that's really interesting. For a lot of startups right now, money is tight across the board in banks and wherever. And if people don't have that circle of influence surrounding them, what are the opportunities for people to be able to have that stopgap funding?
So I'm not particularly crazy about this PPE money.
Right.
I'm really not particularly crazy about it.
And why is that?
And there's quite a few people who are getting this money. I mean, like almost like somebody who had COVID, like somebody was infected. I know people that close that are getting this money, right? With this first with this PPE money, if you take this money, you better have a clear path to give these people government back their money.
Wait, which money are we talking about? Are you talking about paycheck protection, or did you say something else?
The PPE money, yes. Some of the small business funding, all the different funding that the government doing this stimulus packages, this one and the last one that's coming out. So what's happened is some people are doubling down. They're getting 2 servings of this money. Right. And the federal government are prosecuting a lot of people for not being very careful on how they're taking this money. So you got to be very careful, and you should have a clear.
Wait a minute. What do you mean? Wait. Here's a question for you. What is very careful of how you're taking this money? How you're taking this money? What does that mean?
They lying.
So right. So in the lowest layman term, Donnie just said it right. And because I was reading an article in the Wall Street Journal that the feds are prosecuting like 5,000 people on the East Coast for misleading on loan applications, right? Because you go to two banks and they're all giving you the money, right? But you don't have a clear repath to pay it back. Now, the money can help your business. It can bridge you and get you to the other side. That's a great thing. If you have a clear path or you have a 5-year plan to pay back that money, you have to be careful where you take money from. You're not putting your house up and things like that. And then some of this money is truly grant money, right? So you're safe there.
Right, that's what I want, because the money is, it's a forgivable loan, and so as long as people tell the truth on the application, and then they use it for the purposes for which it is intended, and they follow the requirements for it being a forgivable loan, then it's fine to accept the money, right? Because the government forgives. It's really a grant.
So let me just add this in. Arash just chimed in online and wrote that PPP is forgiven.
That's right.
You are talking about the EIDL loan, and that's the Economic Injury Disaster Loans. Thank you, Arash.
Right.
Thank you.
And so China, just so make sure I'm clear there, and you're right, but you can't get money from multiple sources.
Our nonprofit received Paycheck Protection Program. And
right,
so,
right.
And I know we want to make sure that all small businesses and Black businesses get this money, because so often it's not coming to us. And this is a real benefit. And so it helps. It's wealth.
But is this for, since you all are a nonprofit, do you have to repay it, or is it then it's forgivable?
No, it doesn't matter that we are the fact that we're a nonprofit doesn't determine whether it's forgivable. What determines that it's forgivable is how we use it, right? And so
what's the scope?
But it's forgivable. And so it's forgivable because we're using the money to cover our payroll. We kept our employees employed during the time. We're using it for the things that we are supposed to be using it for. At some point, and here's where I'm not really clear, because at that point we had already used our money and it was done, so it didn't affect me as deeply. But at some point, Congress made the regulations more flexible, which would be more favorable actually for businesses. For me, it didn't matter because I needed the money for payroll. So for me, that was just a non-issue. So I didn't need to dig into that. But otherwise, it's actually a great deal that businesses all across the United States got 2.5 months of free operating costs. That's incredible. And I wish that, more Black businesses should be able to take advantage of that.
So and what's the problem with them not being able to?
Some people don't have. You have to complete the application and do a number of calculations on your operating costs. And so if someone is not sophisticated or doesn't have the time or is trying to do their own bookkeeping, it's, in theory, maybe someone who is a smaller operation could get intimidated by that, or may not have the expertise, or may not have the relationship at the bank that they need in order to get it through. It just so happens that with my nonprofit, we're at a community bank, so I didn't have problems. However, I have other friends who have, Black-owned businesses. For example, a plastic surgeon here in Baltimore, a Black plastic surgeon who's absolutely wonderful. She was able to get it as well, and she had a relationship with the larger bank. But the issue is that many, the question was whether banks were prioritizing putting through applications from businesses to which they had lending relationships.
Right.
Then making sure that business got money for their operating costs put them in a better position so as not to default on the loans that they had with the bank. However, it's not perfect. The industry definitely recognized that problem, and more people began to get access. It was never perfect, and I won't say even now that it's been perfect. Baltimore City stepped in and did a relationship with Baltimore Development Corporation and Lindustry to help expand access as well. TRF, a reinvestment fund, did it as well. So there's been more outreach, but it was slower.
We had another comment from Arash. He said, under the new law passed last night, you can now double deep. Both PPP is forgiven and the expense related to those funds. payroll, utility, rent are deductible as well. Thank you, Raj.
So I think it comes down to, before I jump to the next funding sources, it comes down, I believe it's a clause in there, it's a reasonable usage of funds or something like that. They have some clause so you won't default on it. I think the first time he's talking about some reasonable use of funds. So you just want to be careful. That's all. I think ultimately you want to be careful and you want to be forthright and getting any grants or any money from the federal government during this time. Other sources of funding is as I said, you have network of business friends and associates that you get funded. You have relationships with banks like Harbor Bank and some of these other community banks, as you said, and just have some sort of small open line of credit that you can go to. And obviously, I know that minorities sometimes have problems. We don't get access to capital like everybody else do, right? I totally get that. So you should run a good solid network of people to go to help you fund your business as you're growing. And then just at the core, make sure you're reaching out to your friends and family circle that they are supporting your business financially to help you grow. And some of us have this thing. I know quite a few business people I've coached already. They are not even tapping into their friends and family circle. They're going outside their friends and family circle for whatever reason to grow their business. And that's an immediate circle that you should be tapping.
Lex, let me just jump in for a second. China, do you play golf?
I have all the equipment to play golf.
That's a no. Marcia, do you play golf?
I don't have the patience.
Okay, I find it boring. But
as a corporate lawyer, when I came up, you were supposed to play golf, and I thought that I would not advance if I didn't. So I got everything, and then never played golf.
Right. I've been on the cart. It's like a lot. It's just a lot. That's all. Now, Alexis, that's his thing.
And my law firm always gave us the option. You could go golf or you could go to the spa when we had retreats.
So, Alexis, given the option of golf or the spa, which would you choose and why?
So, I mean, it's kind of obvious for me, right? I'm a low handicap golfer. I'm decently good at it, and I've worked really hard to get better, and I'm pretty good. So I'm gonna go to the golf course any day, any cold day I can.
7 days a week.
7 days a week. Option is golf or the spa. I'm telling you, if I go on a trip, I'm a golf more than likely.
What does it mean for business, though?
Good. That's a really good question there, Donnie, and I can give you that analogy. So a couple of things. One thing I can tell you about golfers, that if I'm doing a business deal with someone, if I go out and play a full 18 holes, 4-hour round with you, I'm probably going to be able to fully assess you after 18 holes. Mm-hmm. Because after 18 holes, you get to see the full gamut of their personality, both personal, business, professional. You get to see everything about a person when they're playing. It shows so many character. It shows character flaws and strengths that a person have. Golf can be very tough. Golf is a very golf is a very, very tough sport. And I play basketball, I play a little bit of baseball, but nothing as tough as golf. But if you really want to get a deal done, if you can get on a golf course, you can get one-on-one attention with people and you can convey your point. And you're building a much better personal relationship with someone when you're on a golf course.
Suppose you suck at golf. Can you still get the deal done?
Yes, you can. Yes. I mean, because at least I play with guys that aren't really good. I meet with a guy, I think Kim Ward has a group that meet on Sunday mornings at 8:00. And they're not like super great golfers, but some of them are pretty good.
Are they going to come looking for you?
No, they can play, but the camaraderie and coming together and networking of this group he has, and I think it's anywhere from 12 to 20 guys that come out every Sunday morning at 8:00. And I'm talking about when it's 37, 40 something, 60. This group is coming out. There's a good solid group of guys, lawyers, architects, developers, business people across the board. They're coming out, and then we go to Curl Park. We play 9 holes, and afterwards we sit and eat, talk, and smoke cigars or whatever. And it's a very interesting group, and you get to really network at the golf course, right? And people
Where are
get
you
to
smoking your cigars?
Huh?
Where are you smoking your cigars?
We smoke cigars outside. At the golf course, we smoke outside.
No, I only ask because apparently it's a thing increasingly for there to be cigar rooms.
Do you smoke cigars, China?
I don't smoke anything. But, having
I go to cigar lounges, by the way.
I'm putting in small businesses, I've definitely been approached by prospective tenants who are interested in putting a cigar room on the campus. And
what campus is that?
a woman who doesn't smoke, I'm just thinking, what?
Maybe it's time to get the oil. What's that oil? They all drinking CBD?
No.
Yeah, we can't have that because we have federal money in there.
But cigar lounges are some of the few places that close. That the few lounges I still go to. I still go to these cigar lounges, even if it's a private club I'm part of, or just general. I know one lady, Fire and Smoke, Shirley, she owns one over on Loch Raven. They still draw crowds. They still make some money. They still make money in the cigar business. They're too. They're avid. Either you have cigar smokers or you don't. And some people they just going to smoke no matter what the season is, no matter what the climate is. They're still going to go smoke a cigar.
So I have a question for you. When we look at these minority business development organizations, are they really set up to give the assistance? And what are the shortfalls that you see in an infrastructure to help small minority businesses grow?
That's a great question. So the number one thing, and I've constantly said this to people over my 20-something years. I think minorities fail to build financial infrastructure when we start our business. We take it for granted, and we think we can do it ourselves, right? We fail to do adequate financial planning over the next 3 to 5 years out. We just don't plan it. We think we can sort of wing it, and we can calculate customer, how much we're expending on per customer, what's our burn rate, how much money are we really burning each month, what our performer really looks like. We're not keeping up with that.
Right.
Until we think we get to a certain level or we get to a certain elevation, we think we should then start keeping these sort of sophisticated financial systems. And I try to tell business people now, you really need to start when you launch a business. You need to start out with a solid financial infrastructure, right? And reach out to an accountant. Make sure you properly financially plan your business out, because a lot of us just don't do that. I don't know why. By nature, we just don't. We want to go make the candles, or we want to start this golf club, or we want to do whatever, but we don't involve a financial person in our sort of planning, our realistic long-term planning of building this business out.
Who else should be on your team, Alexis, besides a good financial planner?
A good attorney. Attorneys are really good to have. Attorneys can be quite expensive, but they're really good at alleviating contractual issues and things like that. It's just good to be around smart people and high performing people, right? If like, for instance, I think one of my friends, Sam Carey, we had a discussion about, and this is major, and people take this one point for granted. If I tell you I'm going to meet you at 5 o'clock,
yes.
If I tell you I'm going to meet you at 5 o'clock, I have a 10-year-old son. More than likely, 98%, we're going to be there quarter of. That's on time for us. If you show up 15 minutes late, I am still going to leave at 5:45. I don't care what time you get there. And that goes back to how important do you think this relationship is,
right,
by respecting my time? If I tell you, I ask you, I say, China, hey, let's meet and discuss. Let's discuss 48 Laws of Power, and we're going to bring a book club together. And you're going to invite 2 of your friends, and I'm going to invite 2 of my friends, and we're all going to meet. And we're going to meet at the coffee shop, and we're going to meet at 4 o'clock, and we're going to meet from 4 to 5 o'clock. Yes, I'm sitting rating people based on the time you show up. If you show up late, I'm losing respect for you, because you don't respect my time.
Go to bottom on me.
Oh, right. One, you don't respect my time.
Inevitably, there's something that comes up at the very last minute when I'm trying to leave the house. And over the years, I have worked on not doing that last one thing that I think I can slip in and still be on time. But then now that I have a 3-year-old, it's just it's out of the window almost.
So what I try to do is, if I say, for instance, if I'm going to be on Donnie's show and there's a Zoom meeting, I try to log on at 9:55. I'm not logging on at 9:59 and scrambling, because right now, this morning, I'm gonna tell you, I had a problem this morning. I was trying to use my AirPods, right? I was trying to get them connected, and it was razzle dazzle. And that was at 9:45, right? I gave myself so much time. I said, okay, you know what? I tested my audio and everything, and I still had 5 minutes to give. And I realized my audio worked, the lighting worked, everything worked for me. And I still showed up on time, and I was sitting in the area waiting. And that's because I respect Donnie's time. I respect your time. And I want my time respected. If you ask me to meet you, I'm going to, more than likely, I'm going to ask you, you give me a time.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know, you tell me you can meet me at 6, I'm going to be there at 6.
Mm-hmm.
Alexis, I want you to talk about some of the work you've done in other cities and other countries.
So, other good things going on. So, I started a company, One Square Box, years ago, and I traveled to China. The government of China invited me and Granville Templeton to China, and the Minister of Education for China. We toured the country. I think we stayed in Fujian, and we stayed in a few other places, and we toured the country. And we built our own tablet, and they took us up in the hills to their factories, which was kind of interesting. And the same place we were getting our tablets made, Google were getting their tablets made. And it was such an exciting time. And we actually built software and we built hardware. So we were there. The good thing about building a good team and having solid, smart people with you, when we arrived, we were fully prepared. And when I tell you we're fully mentally and from a business acumen, we were really prepared. So we got there, we did our demo. We had already sold maybe 15,000 tablets here. So they wanted us to take an order of like 200,000 or 300,000. So they say, but they like the software. So they say, here's what we can do. Why don't you give us the code to the software? The Chinese, right? It was great. Like, I like this, right? We're already prepared. Give us the code to the software. No problem. We can give you the code. You know what? Let us package that code up and send it to you. Oh, by the way, though, you need to sign this form. This form is $1 million bond. You're going to dump $1 million in an account we have up in Toronto before we give you the code, just in case you decide to disappear without money. Disappear without code. So you sign this. Here's the bank routing number. It'll route back to Bank of America in New York from Toronto, because we know the transfer of funds. We know how the transfer of funds work. And they was like, you want $1 million? That's a low number, actually. We could actually for more, because we're doing pretty good at this thing. And they just backed up and say, okay, why don't we just work together? But that's another item of saying being prepared when you go to a foreign country. Well, Granville had already had some experience traveling abroad, so that made it pretty exciting traveling to China. And then I've done work in some other cities for the military. I had a couple clearances, so I know my way around a bit from an IT perspective. And before Donnie said, I'd be remiss not to mention one of my long-term partners, who's probably one of the smartest guys I've ever met, and probably in the world ever, a guy named Javon Spivey. He's a super hack. He knows software, hardware in and out from a security perspective. And I've been in partnership with him over 30 years. And he stays behind the scene. He's a guy that I literally, honestly, maybe Donnie have met him 4 or 5 times, twice, right? I got other friends that have been friends for over 20 years, only met him once. Most people I know probably never met, and they probably don't even think he exists. He liked Donnie for some reason. He takes to Donnie for some reason. He said, I like Donnie. But he doesn't want any shine, any limelight, any TV, any basic guy. Does really well in life for himself, but stays behind the scenes and he gets it done. Mm-hmm. But he's a good guy. He's smart as hell. right?
Marcia, I see you shaking your head.
Yeah, I mean, I've known Alexis for a couple of years,
Yes.
and I've always been fascinated by all of the things that you have your fingers in, right? And you
Yeah.
mentioned the military and having military contracts, right?
Yep.
Give us 3 things that minority businesses should have in order to do business with the United States Department of Defense.
So that that's important.
Right.
So some things, and believe me, I'm in my brain. I'm gonna stay to 30 seconds on this. I'm gonna try to stick to hard 30 seconds. The first thing is the preemptive thing is if you get in trouble when between say you 18 to 22, and you get stopped, and
Hmm.
you get stopped for doing something you ain't got no business one way or the other, and it's on your record. It could affect you getting a clearance long term. Okay, so I'll just leave that there. Now that plays out to a bigger picture for me, right? I've never been in trouble, so when you ask me those questions, have you ever been in trouble? Can you take a drug test? I can take a drug test at any given moment in my life. Thank God. I don't know why. Maybe I just was never into drugs, things like everyone else. But from a military perspective, now in this case, China, it's important that you have your quarrels together, your past performances of projects you worked on, and you can authenticate those projects that you work with people with contracts with anything north of $50 million. You've properly paid your staff, you paid your taxes, both federal and state. You properly organized, and your financial systems are in check, because they just want to know you have the financial systems, and you got to be bankable. Bankable meaning, do you have 10 times the money to do this contract? Like you have to get a line of credit from the bank to say you're bankable for some of these bigger federal contracts. So Bank of America would give you a line of credit for $25 million. Whether you use it or not, you might not use it, but they'll give it to you. But most of these contracts want to know you're bankable, that you can cover your payroll if there's an issue. And most of these contracts come down to just staff augmentation anyway, because once you equip my service as a developer or project manager, I'm then the property of whatever military or government or federal agency I'm working with. So it's really just staff augmentation, but the margins are unbelievably huge, right? So for a guy like me, they might pay $300 an hour, and I may earn maybe $110 an hour. And whoever the Northrop Grumman, whoever I'm with, they earn a substantial amount of money off these contracts. But you got to have the financial structures in place. Now I was getting some of these numbers on local IT contracts, but you should have both your past performance, your financials in order. You should definitely be bankable, and you should have a solid HR team, a real true HR team, payroll team behind you, that because they want to see consistency in these federal contracts, especially from the military.
Okay, Lex, give me the fun stuff, because this is just like, give me the dirt, give me the skinny. Come on, Lex.
What dirt do you want? Do I have any dirt?
Fun stuff.
I got a little bit of dirt.
We were talking about this a couple of days ago on the show, and I think because Baltimore Digital Equity Coalition formed this year, a lot of people still don't know about them. And it doesn't include, it includes more than 50 IT organizations, which in no way gets near the number of IT organizations that are out in Baltimore. What are your thoughts on what should Baltimore City be doing or prioritizing first in order to solve issues of digital inequity? What's the first thing they should be doing? Now, obviously, we know it's access, it's connectivity, it's like a bunch of different things. But what should be happening first? And have you heard of the Baltimore Digital Equity Coalition?
No, I haven't heard of them. But connectivity is the main issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Free internet access. I listened to the show with Marsha said she was talking to some execs at Comcast, and they wanted to charge her $9.99, and she said, you can go jump off a damn roof or something. right? And I heard that. I clearly heard that, right? And at the end of the day, asking a kid to, asking a parent to pay, they just can't.
They can't. It's not.
And there are these cities in both Montreal, Russia, China, just Australia, where they're setting up these things, these select things. You see them on top of the roof, right? And they're giving access to everyone for free.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I did see on the news in Baltimore about a week ago, over on Liberty Road, 2 blocks down from CCB, on top of a church, they're giving out expert free Wi-Fi for I think it's a 5-mile radius.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you are. Anybody within 5 miles can log onto it for free and get free internet hospital. Say it again.
It goes on top of the building, right?
Yeah.
How significant is that?
What? So as long as there are no obstructions,
It can work.
it works.
Yeah, the CLECs have to be above other buildings. Yes.
Right.
Send the signal out. Yeah.
Say it again, Johnny.
What's significant about this?
It's that people can have access and your children can have access. What are you saying?
Is it only there? Why isn't it the entire city?
That this is true. Right. Why isn't it that it's not that expensive from a perspective, a city budget or from a recreational budget, right? Let's forget the city budget. Let's take that out of play. Let's play the politics side of it, right? Forget the city budget. Let's talk the recreational budget of Baltimore City is about, I don't know, $200 million. I'm just a round number. It's probably not even 200 million. I'm almost sure for the same Asperton project for $25 million, I'm almost sure from an IT perspective, as cheap as bandwidth is these days,
yes,
you can bandwidth the whole Baltimore City for $25 million. Which means you find all these points and put these CLECs in. But just as Marsha said, these execs are saying, you want me to give up my $9.99 billable fee every month? I am giving you a discount.
Right.
I could charge you $169 a month or $99 a month, but now I only want $9.99. You're still screwing me, even at $9.99. Right. And even more, what's more important, what Marsha's saying, what's more important today is that homeschooling, right? Some kids aren't even logging on. They don't have a device to log on. There's a 40% no login rate. Kids is not even logging in. It ain't happening.
Isn't there a state of emergency, Alexis?
Yes, it's past the state of emergency.
Yes. Yeah. It's a crisis.
Ought not a new mayor be addressing that day one?
Yeah, but I don't know if he's going to address.
Oh, you backpedaling?
No. I'm not backpedaling. Here's the issue.
Emergency?
No. Let's call it. Okay, let's walk down your lane for a second. Let's go down your road for a second. Let's play this state of emergency game. Just as Marsha said, Brandon still has to then go, or the governor still has to convince AT&T, Comcast that. No, I'm sorry. You know what? Let me correct this. It's not AT&T or Comcast. It is AT&T. AT&T owns the broadband that runs underground through the library in downtown Baltimore. That's the main hub of all broadband. It originates out of the main pipe comes out of the main library. That's a little secret, I'm telling you. Like everything derives, the origin of all broadband, it comes out of the main library underground. They got like 800 servers there, and they push bandwidth out. So they could stand it up, but then they would have to say, I would think AT&T or anyone or whoever or Comcast. Verizon. I'm sorry, that's what it is. But they would still ask for, I want 3 times the multiple on what I earn.
Right.
So we earn $75 million. I want 3 times the multiple on that. I want you to pay us $150 million, and we'll give you free broadband. Which doesn't even make sense.
So here's a question for you, Alexis. We've got all of this pipe underneath, right? We've
Yep.
got tons and tons of pipe, and there's all kinds of wiring. There's all kinds of everything underneath our ground. All across this city, people are digging up the same holes 20, 30 times. The same hole.
Royal.
And I have taken pictures and sent them to the city to show them these same subcontractors and contractors get the same contract. And while they're digging in all these holes all over all parts of this city, nobody's dealing with putting connectivity and all of the wire that's needed underneath while they're there in the hole with the pipe.
Makes no sense. You're already underground. It's them little short dudes with no neck. You know who I'm talking about. Why?
So the only person that I know was actually trying to fix this problem for us, the only person that I know had a livable document, it was Magic Johnson, had a livable document and had some MIT guys in town with him. But it was
Lex?
Hold on, it was a business spin Magic put on it. I gotta tell you this. Magic put a slick little spin on it. He really did. So Magic brought all these IT guys and construction infrastructure guys, and he wanted to buy all the underground rights. What are easels? Is that what they're called? Underground rights to
easement.
I'm sorry. He wanted to buy all the underground rights for the broadband that ran up Monument Street. He wanted all that.
I said, hell no.
I will dig the ground up. I will cast and reline the ground. I'll put in new piping in the ground, put in new pipes and cables to transfer data all around the city. I will rebuild all this in exchange. In exchange, you'll pay me rent for this.
Right.
And they basically ran Magic out of town for that.
You know, there's a city in Texas. It's called LaGrange, Georgia.
Okay.
The mayor took back all the pipe. Took it. Just took it.
Nice.
Wired the whole thing and gave free connectivity to all the citizens of LaGrange, Georgia.
But I'm curious, Marsha, how did he pay for something? Like, what is it? Was it the taxpayer?
It was the taxpayer and some creative financing. But I don't know all of the specifics. I know this organization, and I've had them on my radio show probably about 4 or 5 times, but I've met them when I was doing community technology development at Columbia. There is an organization, I want you to look at it. It's called the Intelligent Community Forum.org. And I think it's intelligentcommunity.org. And those guys, intelligentcommunity.org, those guys are fabulous. They're very open. They'll come and talk to anybody. But they travel the world.
Marsha, why don't we have
at all of these different cities and countries?
Oh, here, Baltimore.
Would you listen? There are examples of every type of possibility around the world.
I got you.
And I've said it to all of those people, and nobody's checking them out and finding out how to do it.
But Marsha,
the reason.
Marsha, one thing you want to like that there's
Alexis. No, stop. We got 10 minutes. If the answer is right in front of us, what type of insanity is stopping us, preventing us from making it happen? What's the problem?
There's a business equation to it that most people don't want to face. They don't want to give up the real estate and have to pay for renting that real estate or something. There's a business equation to it that we're not addressing.
Okay.
They don't want to make that investment.
Are they doing it elsewhere?
Yes.
Everywhere, around the world. Around the world.
I don't know. Is it a business equation, or is it that there isn't the political will? Because for too long, so much of the political class has stayed in power by keeping people in poverty.
Well,
what's the problem? Who do we have to go and choke the crap out of? And just vote them out. Who?
You saying amen, Miss Marsha? You saying amen?
Say it again, China. One more different way so people can hear you, girl.
For 20 years, I've been talking
about the Intelligent Community Forum, and nobody in City Hall from
I think
Catherine and whoever that and Stephanie, nobody was listening.
I think somebody like Nick. I think somebody like Nick, from a political capital standpoint, they would have to make a clear, both technical presentation and
put millions of dollars down in Port Washington, which is a damn swamp.
Right?
Court Covington, city within the city, that's a whole city down there, you realize. They have a whole infrastructure like it's an own entire city down there.
Where, Port Covington?
Covington.
They sold Port Covington. They sold
it off the municipality down there, man.
They sold our municipality to some Connecticut investors.
Serious.
Connecticut?
Huh?
Were they from Connecticut?
Yeah. They're VCs. They came in and they bought it at, I heard they bought it at 20 cents on the dollar.
Did you see the mayor over the weekend? He had an Under Armour sweatshirt on. I'm wondering, dude, you couldn't plug you couldn't plug what's Jonathan's clothing line? Not academic, Cashland. It's supposed to be sports of Cashland.
I want to interject with one thing, because I know we're talking about the Wi-Fi on top of the roofs and how easy that is to do, but shouldn't we be talking about fiber optic cable?
Great question. Wasn't fiber optic of Baltimore City sold in the 80s for around $100,000 and now being leased back for almost for even more by Baltimore City? This is from Arash.
See, is that lease back piece, China?
Mm-hmm.
Where I can get murky with you from a political standpoint.
I can get murky, but our kids are getting
China. I can spin you around for 6 months now and tell you, I really can't lease this back, or I could or can't. When the reality is we've kind of done this, but it's something about the lease back piece that.
Excuse me.
Lease backs though aren't bad.
It's not sitting well with you.
I'm going to make a phone call, and I'm going to have Black Stevie step to this person, and we're going to find out what their problem is. We're going to have internet connectivity by 12 noon.
Around the whole city.
Around the whole city. And who's this guy? Where does he live, Alexis? No worries. We got somebody going to his house right now.
But the thing is that I think that sale and leasebacks actually can be really good. The issue is that we have to negotiate them in a way that continues to benefit, the people and benefit the city and benefit the taxpayer dollar. But sale and leasebacks are an incredible tool when they're used correctly. They make a lot of people a lot of money on both sides, the seller side and the leasing. I mean, the leasing, the seller.
Yeah, but China, what I noticed about these sales leaseback, I know a guy down in Dallas, Texas, that was doing this. That you got to be pretty savvy. You got to be a pretty savvy business guy from a financial perspective. And
we're talking about.
Now, here's where I'm going. I'm going somewhere with this, but it seems like the political people in Baltimore don't have the political savvy to want to negotiate this. It's not that difficult. Like
they have the political savvy. Now
they don't have financial. They don't take the risk of the financial political savvy in order to advance this, something that's been done all over the country. Right. They just don't even address it, because anytime it has to do with money, real estate, these politicians take real, they really are quiet about it, unless it's Michael Beatty or the guy that owned the bread company or whoever. They're real interesting about taking on these sort of land use things and leasebacks. They just actually, be honest with you, let's just be frank. I'm dancing around it. They're scared. I'm be honest with you. They're scared.
They have a whole business model within their legal department that has the capability of dealing with all these different types of negotiations, all these different high-level financing capability. All of that should be part of the legal department of any municipality, that you have the people within there that know how to negotiate these deals at a high level and can be able to bring in those necessary contractors to do the necessary arrangement, agreement, all the things that you're sitting here talking about that you're setting up as your corporation. Your company is setting up to be able to do all these deals. You've got the legal wherewithal. You've got the financial wherewithal. You handle the complexity. It should be part of their department within the municipality across this country that can handle that type of high level negotiation. And it should be in-house.
I agree. Now, Ms. Marsha, can I bring your point together with Mr. Alexis's point? Well, I'll just say Alexis because I know your last name is Coates. But let me bring these 2 points together because I think they are both true. The thing is, in Baltimore City, we have everything that we need to be a world-class city. And the people who are running our city should have everything they need to make world-class negotiations. And we can't outsource the intelligence on it to a lawyer. I'm a corporate lawyer, and lawyers have to explain the risks and then defer to the judgment of the person who has the business person or the city official who has the responsibility to make the judgment call. We can't become a world-class city if we are afraid of the numbers and afraid of the economics and afraid to understand how deals get put together. I think that's a real problem.
It's frightening.
So
and you have the Greater Baltimore Committee that reaps from this community, from any administration, from the city of Baltimore, financially. All of those major corporations that have headquarters or major offices, from BG&E to Verizon, all the rest of them, they are raping the money from this community. But what are they putting back into the community?
Right.
And that's where it falls short. You have all those people sitting on the board. They talk all that mess. They have the little weekly whatever, and they sit up in the center club. But what are you doing in terms of your reinvestment into the community to do what you have to do to deal with this digital divide in any financing and education? Because it's not.
The digital divide is definitely solvable. I mean, there are cities in the United States who have done fiber optic cable across their entire city, or at least across the entire downtown. Right. And they do it because they want to encourage small businesses. They want to encourage entrepreneurship. And now in the pandemic era, we realize that we need to do it just for our livelihoods and for our students and for learning and to keep an educated class going and thriving, to create an educated class.
That means you need to be involved and really give a daggone.
So y'all need to launch a campaign for free internet for all.
Well, the campaign is ongoing. There are so many people in the city who are speaking up for it, but I mean, what we need is the will.
There's a young lady that ran for office over in East Baltimore, a Latina, Franca. You know Franca, China?
I haven't met her, but I'm definitely familiar with her campaign. She ran on the Green Party.
Well, but she one of her things was internet connectivity.
Right. And I know that Zeke Cohen also supports it. He's a Democrat, and there are others who have, like the Baltimore Digital Equity Coalition is a huge advocate of solving this issue. And that has a number of organizations across the city, nonprofits, businesses, a number of tech organizations, but they only just started this year. And so it's helpful to know that Alexis Coates hasn't yet heard of them, because that means that there's more work for them to do in terms of drawing more people into their circle and getting the word out.
Yep. And it's digital equity. Is that what you said?
The Baltimore Digital Equity Coalition.
I'm going to call them today.
This is absolutely a solvable problem. This is such a solvable problem. Companies should not have a monopoly over the city.
Well, and so according to David Troy in the Baltimore City group, he says they don't have a monopoly and they don't have an exclusive contract, and that other entities can come into the city. But to what extent, that's what needs to be understood.
Right. It's almost as though our political class is trading away kind of the future of our kids,
right,
for a bowl of soup that's their political power.
Yeah. And yes, so by the way, they are children of color, and they're children with underserved communities that are being impacted. And I'm tired of it. And it's time, way past time, that we as a community start marching down the streets for something bigger than having some doggone restaurants open. But that's
let me just shift gears for a second. We may go over a couple of minutes. Alexis, according to my sources, you're pretty Alexis.
Yes, I'm here.
Stay focused.
Y'all so funny. This is a comedy show sometimes. Go ahead.
We've been very professional thus far. you are
Today's
very
better than yesterday.
Alexis, you believe that the new mayor has a very good knowledge, a working knowledge of how to transform Baltimore. You're rather optimistic over of the next 4 years.
Yes,
Correct?
I am. Yes.
What?
Well, based on some history of knowledge I've gained from you and from other political people, mainly you. No, really. No, really. I mean, this is solid. You gave me some solid information. You gave me some B school information. This is real grad school stuff. And Donnie would often say, I'm not giving any credence to anyone who decide they want to run for mayor if they hadn't gone through the process of being a community leader, a council person, and working their way up through the steps. You have these people like Alexis, all of a sudden I'm on CNN and I'm somewhere else and they say they like me and they think I'm a nice guy all of a sudden. So guess what? I think I can run for mayor now. I ain't helped no community organizations. Maybe I ran a business. I run some businesses here, but I don't know anything about the community organizations. I don't know anything about political organizations. I'm just deciding I'm popular enough I could run for mayor. And Donnie is really against that. And I think Brandon put in the work, right? He's not perfect. Brandon's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But I think Brandon has gone through steps and Brandon has made an attempt to go out and put a broom in his hand and try to clean up the city some. He's trying to help people. He's trying to be cohesive with Nick. He's trying to show publicly, I'm trying to work with other people. He's trying to work through this, right? And I see people just come in and they're real arrogant about it. They take this sort of arrogant personality that I'm the mayor, so I don't really need to deal with people now. But I think Brandon is open, and I'm kind of bullish on him, and I think he could do some things for Baltimore. Now, do I still think he's part of the O'Malley clan? Yeah, I mean it's reality. I think he's a great guy, but I think you still feel some touches of that, right? But I think Brandon can really turn some things around in Baltimore, and I think he has gone through the steps. So, what
do you think he's equipped to address best? What's his strength?
That's a great question. So one, this free internet thing, I think if we put it in front of him and we put it in front of Nick, then Nick can put it in front of the mayor. We can move from there. But I also think that the population growth in Baltimore has been dropping. We've dropped 200,000 over the last 8 years, right? If you don't get the population numbers back up, you're going to have real substantial issues in the city from a tax base standpoint. Right. Then you got another issue. You got a major issue of these vacants. The numbers vary from
17,000
70,000 to 18,000.
17, 16,000.
I've heard all sorts of weird numbers, right? Whatever the number is, let's use around number 20,000. You got 20,000 vacants.
Right. Dilapidated vacants.
Right. And then, but you're hearing these people are coming in town and they're attempting to buy some blocks and some square footage here. But there's no real cohesive plan. And I am part of I do a little bit of real estate diving with some friends. But what I tell you what's important is forget real estate development and all this other stuff. If we don't get the population numbers back up here and we don't get our tax base going, we're not going to be one of the better cities.
Right.
We have to get our population numbers back up because that's where our tax base is.
But you also got to deal with crime because a lot of people aren't trying to deal with this with 300 murders a year. That stuff is so off the hook. It makes you want to run.
Didn't they kill 2 women? They killed 2 women.
Yep.
I didn't know that, but yeah.
We had 328 people die in Baltimore City this year.
And the year's not over, China.
No, it's not. And like for a long time, I thought, okay, we're not going to get above 320. We're not going to get above 320. We can't before Christmas. And we're already at 328. We've got 3 days to go still.
So the other thing is the other positive here, I'll say, because we know we got murders here, but we have some of the sweetest anchors in the United States. Mm-hmm. And even my 10-year-old son said this to me. He says, you can earn more money in the state of Maryland than you can in California. I don't know where you're getting your numbers from, little man, but you're right. Right?
And how so?
And because we have some of the sweetest anchors here. We have
What do you mean?
We have University of Maryland. We have Johns Hopkins. We have one of the largest teacher-based, police-based employers. So we have anchors here that could bring people here. But if you don't get control of the crime, if you don't get control of the tax base, if you don't get control of the population.
Well, time out, Alexis. You just mentioned two sweet anchors, University of Maryland, Johns Hopkins. Alexis, do they pay their fair share of taxes?
Nope.
I don't think they do. I don't know. I'm not even going to say they do or don't.
I hear, the greatest research institution in the world. This is the same entity that made billions
off of
Henrietta Lacks's immortal cells. I'm not seeing the give back.
I tell you real quick. Someone recommended this book to me. You should read it. It's called The Ghost of Johns Hopkins.
Yeah, I got it.
If you read that book and find out this guy was some slick panhandler, he wasn't a doctor. He got sick. He told some doctors come into a hospital and he formed something. Like some of the weird ways they've taken property from people in Baltimore.
Like ground rent. Like ground rent. You got people paying ground rent.
Ontario.
What do you think needs to happen to bring back the tax base? What do you mean by that? You said if we don't get control of the tax base, how do we get control of it? And what are you talking about?
So the number one thing in order to get the tax base, China, is that you have to figure out a way to increase the population.
Right.
What do you recommend we do to do it?
If you don't increase the population, you're screwed. And item one on the agenda is you have to get control of crime here. I'm scared of shit here, right?
We change chiefs of police every 2 weeks.
Right, but Brandon just said he's going to keep this because it costs us an arm and leg if we let this guy go. So one, let's get control of.
Sign that deal. Oh my God, was that the dumbest deal? And then your school CEO.
He has an NBA contract. He got a guaranteed NBA contract. If he
what dummies did this? The city council.
Happy Pew.
Let me answer Marsha's question. China's question. I'm sorry. So one, so you want to you want to get the murder rate down. You want to get control of that. Two, you have to get control of the tax base on this real estate. If you don't get control of this high tax rate on this real estate, and
you're talking my language. That's where I wanted to hear you go. Tell us about the tax rate.
Common first, but then you got to figure out a way to say, okay, here's what the numbers are. Here's what the numbers are. This is some free advice. $400 an hour. As I tell Donnie, I'm expensive. Now it gets
more expensive.
Now this gets expensive. No. This gets expensive now. But I'm gonna lay it out to you. And this is from some friends of mine. If I was on an advisory transition team with Brandon or Nick or whoever, one thing I would advise them to do is to figure out a constructive way to dump these vacant properties.
Right.
Literally. So, okay, Donnie, you want a house? We're going to give you 3 houses at $1 each. You're going to take the tax on them. But you have 18 months to fix these houses up. You get one or two options. You can rent the house or you can sell it. You got to get the valuation up on them because that's what's going to drive our tax bill. I need you to get the valuation up on the rehabbing of these houses.
So you want to use the dollar program as an accelerant because you know we have weak demand.
And I want to clear the vacants. I really want to clear the vacants. And I want to give you China, where are you from? China?
If the tax rate is $2.25, I'm not buying a vacant because investment is invaluable.
They should be given.
Let's say you're from Boston. China, let's say you're from Boston. And I want to recruit.
I'm from PG County. Let's pretend what it is. PG.
Well, let's just use further. Let's say, okay, I want you to come move to Baltimore and you have a business and you have 20 employees. I want to have an incentive for you to move here. So I'm going to sell you a house at $1.
Well, what kind of business do I have? Because if I have a business that has a lot of equipment, I'm going to tell you that why would I move there? Because the personal property tax rate is
So high.
$5.50 higher than anywhere else within
Right. And so
radius of the state.
that's a great statement. So what I'm suggesting, then Brandon and Nick would then come together and said, we're going to work on, for the first 5 years, we're going to ink you a Walmart deal.
Oh, so now this is where the corruption comes in. Because I got my wife favored in order to get an exception to the high tax rate. And then the burden of that is going to fall on my Black people in Sandtown, Winchester.
Hold on. This is not a corruption. What I'm saying,
I'm following the scenario, right, Mr. Donnie Glover?
Here's what I need. Here's what I need from you.
We're chasing businesses out, Alexis. We're chasing businesses out of Baltimore City.
As a political advisor, I'm gonna tell you what I'm trying to get out of you.
Okay.
I need your 10 employees to move here.
Right. So in other words,
once I get your employees to move,
I don't want to get shot.
No. That's fine. That's great. I'm gonna put you in a good neighborhood, and I'm gonna put those.
Good neighborhood.
Oh, you're gonna put me in a good neighborhood. So that means a white neighborhood, right? My latte.
The hell with the Black people.
A good neighborhood.
Right.
The hell with the Black people. The hell with Sandtown.
Out in Sandtown and around Montgomery, we're gonna let them pay my high tax rate while I
get a good neighborhood.
Gilbert
and live in a white neighborhood and latte every day on the way to work.
Oh, so I'm Black and I'm a bad neighborhood.
Here's what I'm gonna do. Here's what I'm gonna do.
County come out.
I'm gonna move her 10 employees down to where the ice factory used to be, next to the
light factory that just had a fire.
No, that's okay. We're gonna tear all that down and we're gonna make it a green area.
We're gonna make it.
We're gonna move all those people who live there. Just push them out.
Yeah, move the rest of the Black people from the nowhere highway out to
the EBDI over there.
Carroll County. Send them to Johnny Ocheski.
Carroll County.
Let me tell you, Mr. Alexis Coates, I'm messing with you a little bit because I know you can handle it. I like the idea of lowering the tax rate, but instead of giving me a special deal that only I can negotiate with my fancy businesses and leave the burden on all of the poor people, why not slash the property tax rate for everyone and slash the personal property tax rate for everyone? And then not only will I come back into the city from PG County and with all of my 10 employees, but then other people from the county, from other places will come in. People all of a sudden will start to take over this vacant.
These people have been
tax rate right now because now I can't pay the police.
Right. But you can do it. You can do it and not cut services. Every single city in the United States that has slashed their property tax rate has, within a matter of 3 years or less, completely turned around their economy and not had to severely or barely even slash their services. They were all afraid of it, and people fought it because they didn't want to lose their services. And so it's this economic concept of loss aversion, where I'm so scared to lose the tiny crumbs that I have. I cannot take the risk to get a whole loaf of bread.
But it's not just the taxes. People are not going to come to Baltimore. They don't even want to come to Baltimore to be entertained because of the crime. If you have that many people on a regular basis and you don't have a solution, and I'm going to risk my life just coming into the city. Now, what am I supposed to do? And how do I even explain that to my employees that I'm going to move my business, my headquarters from wherever I am in very comfortable New Jersey or very comfortable Pennsylvania, and I'm now going to come and risk the lives of my employees as they go downtown just to get a meal, and they end up with all of this surrounding them.
Here's the deal.
Those 200 murders are isolated to certain zip codes. People see it as the whole city.
Hold on. In 1993, DC had more than 450 murders in 1 year. DC turned its entire economy around, and they did it through slashing their property taxes first. They did not solve the crime problem first. Economic development solves crime. Yes, there are absolutely specific strategies that we need to do that are not being funded in the city. Cognitive behavioral therapy, group violence reduction strategy, which the council just put 600,000 to, but that requires millions. It's going to fail on 600,000. However, unless we slash the property tax rate and be very big boys and very big girls and make the decisions that we know we need to do to turn around the economy, we can't solve the crime rate and we can't get the population back. But
Well,
I'll give you, Alexis, what we need to do is solve the property tax rate, but not through exception.
It's really happening in areas where people are coming from an environment where there are still gangs in this city. There are still people who are using crime as their way of income. That's their sole source of income. And
because they don't have businesses in their neighborhoods.
It's not even about the business. They're not even educated. We don't have people who are in an educational environment where they can come out with even the possibility of having a life.
Amen.
And they don't have it. So if we don't have it, they're going to turn to crime. They're going to sell drugs on the corner or sell whatever else they're going to sell. Then they're going to sit down and be part of all these different gangs because they're the ones that are helping them to survive and to take care of their families. And until we deal with the root of our communities and all of the disparities into our communities, you can talk tax base all you want to, but the reality is that there's a whole community of people who have been marginalized that are setting the tone for how this city grows or leads its population.
Because they're locked out of being propertied. Dealing with our people means dealing with the economic injury that has been done to them. Martin Luther King got it, and he was killed before he could explain it, because people realized how powerful and revolutionary what he was going to say was. We don't need a lifetime of programs and services. What we need is economic power. What we need is ownership. What we need is the ability to have property. And
what I need to do is plug these businesses that keep this show on the air. Special thank you to Sanjay Thomas, Allstate, also to Murphy, Falcone, and Murphy. I don't know how many of you may need an attorney. 410-539-6500. And special thank you also to Andre Kane and Mr. Bishop Barry. If you have a pest control, look up Bishop Barry's Pest Control.
Wonderful.
I wanted to get a question in, but I'll hold it to another show.
All right.
Please get the question in, Donnie. Go ahead. What's your question?
Why is Baltimore so anti-business?
That's another show.
Because we think it will threaten our programs and services, and the opposite is true.
It's for the
oh, sorry, whoops.
Why is Baltimore
So
is it anti-business?
If it's me, Donnie, I don't so much say thanks for pointing. I don't know if it's so anti-business. I think there are businesses in Baltimore.
We don't have one Fortune 500 company in Baltimore. That's not anti-business.
Yeah, but
you've got an airport. You've got the MARC train. You've got subway trains. You've got the port. This is not anti-business.
I wouldn't go as far as
why did Jimmy Britton move to Baltimore County?
I guess he got a cheaper deal on a house in Carroll County. I don't know, but
his business moved from Baltimore City to Baltimore County, as have others.
Right. His business moved to Liberty or wherever. Yeah.
Taxes.
Right.
I wouldn't go as far as to say Baltimore is anti-business.
You wouldn't.
I would not. I would not.
Well, I think we have a new mayor in town, so let's not go over what was. Let's look at the possibilities for what will be.
Baltimore's not okay. All right. Well, that's your opinion. You're welcome. Alexis, China, you're licking your chops. We have to really.
No, I don't have. No. I'm good.
Well, Alexis, why don't you take a moment? It's 11:20. We really didn't. I know you're really a stickler for time. You want to give your closing comments, your closing argument.
So I appreciate your invite, Donnie, Marsha, China. Appreciate the conversation. Any insight I can give, any humbling insight I can give on some businesses, things I've worked on. I think you guys are doing a great service for the city, and it'd be nice if some of the politicians are actually listening to your show and really.
They watching.
I'm sure.
Donnie has Brooke Learman coming tomorrow.
Yeah. So they're doing good things, and you are really doing good things in the community to help us grow. And hopefully we can see some turnaround in this new administration in Baltimore. That at the end of the day, at BmoreNews, you want to see Baltimore be a better place. And that's a really nice thing. And if we can get control of, as China would reorganize my list from get the vehicles in order and get crime in order and provide some free internet service. And I think that would be a nice campaign, that you want free internet by the next 12 months for everyone, right? That no more talk. At some point, Marsha's been talking it for years, but at some point you have to do it. You have to.
And we got to also say not just Marsha, but Tyrone Taborn.
Yes.
For 30 some years, Marsha. And he opened the doors for Marsha, for you, for me. Dr. Taborn, Black Engineer of the Year Awards, 25 years in Baltimore, not embraced. He moved it to other cities because Baltimore didn't embrace Black business. Correct, Marsha?
Yeah, he's coming back, though. He's coming back. In another couple of years, the Black Engineer of the Year Awards Conference will be back in Baltimore. So, yeah, but that's a very good example. And he's located, his offices are right on the corner of Pratt and President. And he's been there for 30 years. And it's really, it was disappointing, but, he was able to do what he needed to do in Washington, D.C. And the women of color, we moved that from here, and we started that in D.C. And now it's in Detroit. And it's doing very well there. So, women of color in STEM. But he's got his magazines and he's doing quite well. But I think he'll be very happy to come back to Baltimore. And that was, a big deal making that move. That was a hard decision.
Go ahead and put your plug in, Alexis.
Just check out, if you can check out my book, 51 Business Essentials. And if you need coaching advice, I'm giving out one free 30-minute session. I think the promotion's end at the end of this week on Christmas. AlexisCoates.com. Just check me out if you can, and I appreciate Donnie for the invite. Thank you very much.
John, I'll give you the final word. You look like you just have a whole dissertation to share with us.
I'm China Boak-Terrell, and I love BmoreNews.
That'll get you extra time. Please continue.
That's all that needs to be said. I love BmoreNews.
All you gotta do is feed the monster. See that? Just feed the monster.
I learned that from him.
See? Feed the monster. That's all you gotta do.
Tomorrow,
I love WKIM, not to leave out the queen.
So if you'd like to subscribe to our weekly newsletter, just send it to WKIM Media Network at gmail.com.
China, who do we have tomorrow?
We have Delegate Brooke Learman, and that will be a really interesting conversation because she just declared for comptroller. We've been spending a lot of time talking about digital equity, and that's one of her core platform issues. So,
Alexis, take note. When you think of Nick Mosby jumping in the city council president's race, no opposition. Brooke Learman, she's just been waiting there. Peter Francho, everybody and their mama knows he's running for governor. I don't know what he's done in the Black community. He has no track record on Black business, but we're going to see what his campaign looks like. But Brooke Learman found that open lane, and now she's running for comptroller, and she'll probably she could fall in the office, right, China?
You never know what's going to happen in politics, and there's a long time before the election.
Marilyn Mosby. Everybody was against what was his name? This Greg Bernstein. She found an open lane. She jumped in the race before Russell never done and went right in there. So Alexis, just like in football, when Lamar found that open hole, a strategy is knowing who's moving up and what space is open, and that's where your state central committee and good planning can get, and otherwise, it can get somebody to move up. That's it.
That's it.
Timing is everything.
We'll see.
In preparation, right?
All right.
Man, shout out in heaven to it. We got to do this. I've been forgetting this. we've lost a lot of people this year, and not to put a damper, but Marsha, we've lost some really, really great people this year. And so somewhere in the next few days, we need to spend some time paying homage to those who have, gone on.
Mm-hmm. Well, right now we just appreciate all of the losses and just keeping our whole community and this nation and world in prayer through all of this. So thank you, Donnie.
Okay. Lex, we appreciate you much. Thank you for taking time. Special shout out to your son, Sebastian. We're proud of him.
Thanks.
We think we are going to be running him for governor of California.
Sounds like
a plan.
Like, would he be running for? He wouldn't stay here.
California, like Baltimore?
California. No, the state, Los Angeles, California. He's going to California as soon as he can, trust me.
All right.
Give us the mantra, Donnie. Give us the mantra.
You inspired me. Up the day, down tomorrow. Do your day and everything will follow. Nothing to it but to do it. I got to do it, regardless of how I feel. I am somebody. I am my brother's keeper. Good morning, Baltimore.
Good morning, Baltimore.
Good morning.
Good morning.